They say a house remembers every curtain that swayed in autumn light, every rose pressed between pages, every cup of tea that carried warmth into a quiet morning. Step inside this English cottage, where early fall lingers like a faded rose, a sepia memory that feels endlessly romantic. The season shifts softly, early fall draping itself across the English cottage. Here, on a sofa dressed in faded rose florals, the air is warm with sepia light. A teapot waits on lace, steam curling like memory itself, slow, romantic, unhurried. By the window, lace curtains breathe with the breeze. A lamp with tender roses glows against the dark wood, and beside it, an old photograph leans, sepia fading with time. It feels as though someone has just stepped away, leaving behind their glasses, their quiet routine. On the shelves, quilts rest patiently, folded stories in faded rose and muted sage. Every stitch holds the rhythm of hands long gone, woven into fabric that still warms the soul. This corner is not storage, but a sanctuary of keeping. And here, dried flowers gather beside a single flickering candle. The glow dances over lace and walnut wood, reminding us that nostalgia is not just memory, but a living romance that lingers in every detail, every breath of fall. The morning opens gently in the English cottage, lace curtains glowing in sepia light, a chair draped in faded rose fabric waiting quietly, while flowers on the table lean toward the last breath of summer. By the window, a cat curls into the cushions, its fur blending with embroidered lace and velvet pillows. Here, time slows, and the room becomes a sepia memory of comfort. Soft, unspoken, endlessly romantic. In the kitchen, copper pans gleam against old brick, the oven painted in tender pink, lace curtains swaying gently in the early fall air. Every detail whispers of heritage, of meals seasoned not just with spice, but with love kept alive. And on the dining table, a teapot rests among roses and bread still warm. Lace drapes across dark wood. China gleams in faded florals. And suddenly we remember. Nostalgia isn't just the past. It's the tenderness we carry forward, one meal, one memory at a time. In the quiet of early fall, the day begins with a simple ritual. A rose rests beside a porcelain cup, and jars of grains line the shelf, each one a sepia memory of meals shared and love passed down. Golden light filters through lace curtains, warming the sink, the copper pans, the herbs in small jars. This is the heart of the cottage, where every simmer, every scent, carries a faded rose of memory. In the pantry, shelves are lined with jars and tins, each holding not just food, but time itself. Lace curtains drift with the breeze, reminding us that beauty lives in the details of the everyday. And here, on a lace-covered table, a cushion embroidered with roses, a glass perfume bottle, and a sepia photograph of someone once dearly loved. The cottage whispers softly. Romance is not just found in grand gestures, but in the small treasures we keep close. The morning begins in sepia tones, an old clock ticking softly over lace, a pair of spectacles resting as though just set aside. Time here is not hurried. It lingers like faded rose petals pressed between pages. On the quilted bed, a wooden trunk waits, lined with lace and memories folded carefully inside. It carries not only linens, but the weight of stories whispered through generations, a romance stitched in fabric and time. Through lace curtains, the garden leans closer, early fall casting soft light across the sill. A potted herb thrives in its quiet corner, reminding us that even the smallest green can hold the memory of home. Along the wall, baskets and faded blooms rest together, a symphony of sepia and rose, woven with the language of nostalgia. Here, the cottage breeds romance. In every basket, every petal, every tender echo of memory kept alive. On the dresser, lace cradles boxes wrapped in faded rose. A perfume bottle glimmers in the golden hush. Beside it, pearls rest like quiet sighs of romance. Each detail a sepia echo of time treasured. Along the shelf, sepia portraits gaze back gently, faces held in ornate frames, curtains of lace glowing softly in the light. Here, memory is not distant. It lives, tender and near. In the corner, a wicker basket holds folded linens. Roses stitched in thread, faded yet enduring. A pair of spectacles rests lightly on top, as though someone just stepped away, leaving behind a trace of themselves. By the window, pots of ivy and geraniums spill their greenery. Lace curtains drift with the early fall breeze, casting shadows that feel almost like whispers. The room becomes a garden of memory, romantic, nostalgic, endlessly alive. The morning light drifts through lace curtains, falling in gentle patterns across a waiting chair. Here, the cottage whispers in faded rose and sepia calm, reminding us that beauty often lives in stillness. By the window, ivy and geraniums climb, a teacup resting on lace as if holding a pause in time. A chair wrapped in quilted warmth becomes a tender retreat for the soul. Down the hall, a vanity glows in muted green, golden handles gleaming beneath early fall light. A lace towel drapes gently across the counter, its touch carrying the romance of memory, like a letter folded and kept safe. And in the bath, a wicker basket of roses waits beside folded linens. Lace tumbles over porcelain. The room washed in sepia tones of comfort and love. It is here, in the quiet rhythm of daily rituals, that nostalgia feels most alive. In the quiet of the cottage, the bathtub rests by the window, curtains of faded rose lace drifting with the breeze. Folded towels wait nearby, and the whole room feels wrapped in sepia calm, like a memory you never want to let go. On a small cushioned seat, lace garments and slippers lie ready. They carry with them the rhythm of everyday rituals, small, tender acts of care, where romance is found in the gentlest details. The shower glimmers in muted light, tiles framed with lace and jars lined neatly. It is both functional and poetic, a space where time feels softened, where even water becomes part of memory. In the linen cupboard, baskets brim with folded lace, towels stacked neatly, their faded rose tones carrying the warmth of many seasons. Here, order feels like love. Every fold, every layer, a memory carefully kept. On the table, a wicker basket spills with blooms, the tools of gardening resting nearby. It is not just flowers that are gathered, but moments, sepia memories tied with stems and lace. By the lace-draped window, roses climb in soft abundance. A hand lifts a watering can, pouring care into every petal. This is the rhythm of the cottage, love woven into the simplest routines, romance growing quietly in early fall light. Early fall drifts in quietly, the cottage wrapped in faded rose and warm lace. A teapot waits on the table, its steam curling like a sigh of memory. By the bedside, the lamp glows softly. A pair of spectacles rests beside a photograph that still whispers of love. Sepia fading, but never forgotten. On the shelves, folded quilts keep their secrets. Each stitch a letter, each rose a reminder of hands that worked with tenderness long ago. And in the corner, candlelight trembles. Dried blooms lean close to listen, as if even flowers remember that love lives quietly in the corners of time. The morning light spills gently through lace curtains. A chair waits in faded rose and muted gold, and flowers lean close to the window, as though listening to the hush of early fall. By the window, a cat curls into velvet cushions, a stillness that feels eternal. Here, nostalgia is not loud. It lingers softly, like breath against glass. In the kitchen, copper pans gleam warmly, the stove painted with romance in tender blush tones. It is a place where memory cooks slowly, seasoned with love and patience. At the table, bread is waiting, roses gathered in bloom. Porcelain cups glow under the morning light, and lace ties it all together, the quiet poetry of a cottage in early fall. The morning begins quietly. A porcelain cup beside a faded rose. Jars line neatly on lace, holding not just grains, but stories of the past. Golden light falls across copper pans and green cabinets. Through lace curtains, the garden breathes in, and the kitchen hums with memory, romance carried on the scent of early fall. Here, the pantry keeps its gentle secrets. Jars of beans and spices, tins wrapped in lace, curtains swaying as though remembering, hands that once worked with tenderness. On the dresser, roses bloom in fabric. A glass perfume bottle glimmers in sepia glow. Beside it, a photograph watches quietly, a memory that lingers, soft and eternal. On a lace-covered table, an old clock ticks gently. Glasses rest nearby, as if someone has just stepped away. Time slows here, folding itself into memory. On the bed, a wooden trunk holds lace and quilts, stitched with the tenderness of hands long gone. Every fold is a keepsake, every fabric a letter from the past. The window breathes in soft autumn light. Lace curtains sway like whispers, and a small pot of green sits steady, a reminder of life carried gently through the seasons. Along the wall, roses dry into sepia hues. Baskets wait with quiet patience. It is not just storage. It is a gallery of nostalgia, woven with romance and time. On the dresser, lace gathers around perfume and velvet boxes. The air feels tender, touched with faded rose and time. A quiet romance bottled in memory. Photographs in golden frames look back softly. Sepia faces glow in lace-filtered light, reminders that love is carried forward, not lost. A wicker basket holds folded linens, threaded with roses and memory. Spectacles rest on top, as if someone paused mid-routine, still part of the story. On the windowsill, ivy spills and geraniums bloom. Curtains drift gently, turning light into warmth, reminding us that nostalgia also grows, soft and living. The morning enters quietly, lace curtains glowing with sepia light. A chair waits in stillness, wrapped in the tender hush of early fall. By the window, plants lean toward the sun. A teacup rests, untouched, a pause in time where romance lingers softly. At the vanity, lace and brass meet in calm harmony. The towel drapes gently, as though holding on to every memory it has touched. Beside the tub, roses and linens gather. Lace falls like a sigh across porcelain, turning daily ritual into a poem of nostalgia. The tub waits beneath a curtain of lace, sunlight slipping through in soft patterns, towels folded neatly nearby, an invitation to pause, to breathe, to remember. On a cushioned stool, lace garments and slippers rest. They feel like whispers of routine, the romance of ordinary life made timeless. Muted tiles and lace-edged shelves hold jars of care. Water here does more than cleanse. It renews, it soothes. It folds memory into the everyday. Folded lace, woven baskets, towels kissed by time. Every shelf in the cupboard holds not just fabric, but comfort carefully kept, a love that lingers in the smallest details. On the wooden table, a wicker basket rests, filled with blooms and the gentle trace of work. Here, nostalgia feels alive. Flowers gathered, memories pressed softly into each stem. By the window, roses climb in faded rose hues. A hand lifts the watering can, pouring tenderness into every leaf. This is romance made simple, a cottage ritual in sepia light. The English cottage sighs with the first breath of autumn. Faded rose florals cover the sofa, while lace catches the golden light, and a pot of tea promises comfort. By the window, the lamp glows like a heart. Spectacles rest on folded linens. A photograph nearby. Sepia faces still watching from another time. Here, quilts wait patiently on wooden shelves, stacked in layers of story and devotion. They are not just fabric, but warmth stitched into memory. And beside a single candle, dried blossoms bow gently. The flame flickers, reminding us that nostalgia is the sweetest season of all. The English cottage hums in sepia tones, lace swaying gently, a chair dressed in florals, inviting one to linger just a little longer. A cat rests by the window, its presence soft as a fading photograph. The room feels alive with memory, where every cushion carries a story. The hearth glows with the warmth of copper, old bricks keeping the rhythm of time. The scent of autumn drifts in, as if the house itself is preparing a feast of nostalgia. On the dining table, roses and bread share the stage. A teapot waits on lace, reminding us that romance is not just in grand gestures, but in everyday rituals that feel eternal. In sepia light, a cup rests beside a rose. Grains in glass jars lined like keepsakes. Every shelf tells a story, every detail a faded memory. The window opens to early fall, lace curtains glowing softly, copper gleams, herbs rest in glass, and the room feels wrapped in vintage warmth. In the pantry, time slows. Jars of beans and flour, tins of tea, a place where nostalgia is stored as carefully as food for the coming days. On the vanity, lace spreads like memory. A rose pillow, perfume in glass, and a photograph frozen in time. This is romance, quiet and everlasting. The clock hums in sepia rhythm, its hands tracing stories we still carry. Beside it, spectacles rest on lace, symbols of quiet moments once lived. A trunk sits proudly on a faded rose quilt, its brass locks glinting softly. Inside, lace and linens guard the gentle weight of love remembered. Curtains of lace open to a tender garden view. The light of early fall paints the room, while a simple plant anchors the space in a living kind of memory. On the shelf, baskets and blossoms gather in harmony, some freshly woven, some fading with time, all carrying a romance that lingers long after voices have quieted. A pearl necklace rests beside a perfume bottle. Boxes wrapped in rose brocade keeping their secrets. This is romance in its quietest form, a sepia whisper of time. Faces in sepia smile through gilded frames. Curtains of lace sway slowly, as if the house itself breathes with memory. Linens lie folded in a woven basket. the fabric worn soft with years. Spectacles sit waiting, a pause in a story still unfolding. The window glows with early fall light. Plants climb and spill over lace, turning the room into a living memory. Half garden, half dream. The cottage hums in faded rose light, curtains of lace shimmer, a chair bathed in the glow of memory. In the sunlit corner, ivy spills. A teacup waits on lace. It feels like an old photograph, alive yet suspended in time. The vanity holds its quiet grace. Muted green, golden fixtures, lace soft as a whispered secret. Here, the tub becomes a sanctuary. Roses, linens, and lace gather in sepia harmony, turning the everyday into romance. By the window, the bathtub rests in sepia calm. Curtains drift, towels wait, the room humming softly with faded rose light. Lace garments folded carefully, slippers placed with care. They tell of lives lived gently, where even preparation feels like poetry. The shower stands in vintage grace. Tiles soften with age, lace framing shelves lined with jars. Here, time itself feels tender. In the hush of morning, the cupboard glows with folded linens. Every layer whispers of seasons gone, yet still warm, still close. A basket overflows with blossoms, tools resting quietly on lace. It feels less like work and more like love made visible. Curtains of lace soften the light. Outside, roses lean toward the hand that waters them, as if they too remember the care that has always been given. In a room washed with sepia light, the sofa rests under faded rose florals. Steam rises from the teapot, a soft invitation to linger, to remember. The bedside glows with golden lace. Glasses folded, a book waiting, a photograph watching tenderly. Life paused, yet still alive in its details. On the shelf, quilts are folded like love letters. Dusty rose and muted sage, stitched with patience, carrying autumn's warmth from one generation to the next. A candle burns beside dried blooms, casting shadows that sway with memory. Here, romance is not loud, but soft, steady, eternal. The morning enters quietly, lace curtains catching the sun. The chair by the window holds a softness, an embrace in fabric and faded rose. curled among pillows, a cat becomes part of the still life. Here, nostalgia feels like a warm heartbeat, slow and steady in sepia light. In the kitchen, the old stove glows like a secret. Copper pans shimmer, curtains flutter, and time bends to the gentle rhythm of the season. Bread still warm, tea waiting in porcelain cups. The table is more than wood and lace. It is the heart of the cottage, a place where memory and love always return. The day begins with tea and quiet reflection. A rose rests gently, and the pantry glows in warm tones of faded memory. Curtains of lace sway in the breeze. Copper pots shimmer softly, the heart of the cottage alive with the tenderness of autumn light. Shelves stacked with jars and tins. Familiar textures, soft lace at the window. Every corner hums with care, reminding us of the romance of the everyday. And as evening comes, a perfume bottle gleams on lace. A cushion embroidered with roses whispers of gentler times. The photograph remains, a sepia memory glowing in the quiet. The morning begins with lace and stillness. An old clock ticks softly, while spectacles rest like a pause in conversation. Time here feels tender, forgiving. On the bed, an heirloom trunk sits open, lined with folded lace. It feels as though every piece remembers a touch, a season, a love. Through the lace-draped window, the garden leans close in early fall light. The world outside is alive, yet the room feels eternal, suspended in sepia calm. On the shelf, roses dry into romance. Baskets rest like companions of another age. This is the language of the cottage. Nostalgia made visible. Love held in the gentlest details. The dresser holds a soft glow, perfume glass catching the light, boxes of velvet and lace holding whispers of romance. Framed portraits gather like companions, their eyes gentle, their presence still near. Curtains soften the room into sepia calm. A basket cradles folded linens, roses stitched into every thread. Spectacles rest upon them, a trace of someone's tender rhythm of life. At the window, lace and ivy intertwine. The air feels alive, a blend of garden freshness and vintage warmth. Here, the cottage breathes love, steady as time itself. Light pours through lace curtains. filling the room with tenderness. The chair beside them feels like an embrace, waiting patiently. By the window, warmth gathers. A cup of tea, a woven chair. Plants leaning gently toward love. This is nostalgia made visible. A lace towel rests across the vanity, golden brass gleaming softly. Here, romance is simple, in the details we touch every day. The tub carries roses and linens, a basket of memories spilling over lace. Sepia light wraps it all, a quiet reminder that love lingers in the ordinary. A bathtub framed by lace, bathed in early fall light. It feels like a secret kept by the cottage, a romantic pause in the day. On a stool, slippers and lace rest together. Every fold, every thread, carries the softness of care, a quiet rhythm of love. The shower gleams in vintage charm, its walls dressed in floral tiles, its shelves framed in lace. Even here, nostalgia breathes gently. Baskets brim with lace and folded cloth. The cupboard holds a secret tenderness, a memory in every thread, a faded rose in every fold. Flowers gathered in wicker, garden shears resting by their side. It feels like a poem left unfinished, nostalgia written in stems and petals. At the window, lace drifts like a sigh. A hand waters the roses. Sepia light turning the moment into something eternal, something softly romantic.